Hey, Meyer.
What's
Hey,
up?
everyone. What's up, you guys? A little bit of technological difficulties here, so bear with us, but I think it's working out. Meyer's just coming up a little blurry for me. I just wanted to say what's up to you guys. Thanks for tuning in on What's Up with Upslope TV. Let's see here. You got me. I'm Katie Hill. Y'all seen me for weeks now, but this is the guy you really want to talk to. That's Alex Meyer, and he is the man with the plan with special projects. And this is episode 10. And if you've been watching this at any point, Meyer, you may have seen on one of these. He was on episode 5. And this week we're going to be talking about a really, really wild and crazy beer that I can't wait for Meyer to introduce. And he's perfectly dressed for the beer because it's a Blue Hawaiian. And this is where you can take it away, Meyer. Tell everybody what's good with this next Lee Hill Series beer.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks, Katie. This is kind of a unique beer for us, but similar in a lot of regards in process and everything. But it's a Blue Hawaiian Sour Ale. That's inspired by a 1960s cocktail of the same name. We are not making a cocktail, we're making a beer. This is a foeder age base, so a lot of our sour beers come from the foeder. We've got one behind me here. That's kind of our dark base. We call that one Ernie. And then I've got the one to this side that the Blue Hawaiian came from. And that's our lighter foeder base. So we start with that. And then this beer was re-fermented on an obscene amount of pineapple puree and desiccated coconut or dried coconut. That's kind of the base for it. So similar to like a pina colada. But then there's also a little orange zest in there. We soaked some oat cubes in rum and threw that in there. So those are kind of more subtle additions, but they help round it out. And I will say that the coconut, even though we put a decent amount in there, it takes quite a bit of coconut to get that to come through. But it's just this nice kind of subtle character. It's not overpowering there. Think of just like your kind of a tropical tiki drink. And then what really sets us apart is the blue color. And what the Blue Hawaiian cocktail uses is a blue curacao, which is like an orange flavored liqueur. We're not using that. We're using an all-natural ingredient called phycocyanin powder, which is known also as blue spirulina. It's become more popular in the food industry recently. There's a lot of foods that are colored with it now because it is a natural ingredient, but it has a vibrant blue hue. So you're just able to achieve that blue color that has been around for a while as like a synthesized, artificial color, but using this blue spirulina. And spirulina is a type of algae, and then the blue spirulina is an extract of the blue pigments from that algae. So you can get spirulina that's kind of this green blue color, or you can get this stuff that's just a vibrant blue hue. So where we're at right now with the beer is it's
All right,
come
so
off
are
the
you going to
fruit.
show us?
I will, but I gotta keep explaining it a little bit here. Where we're at is the beer has come off the fruit, so it looks like a normal beer right now. It's kind of a pale golden color, and it's in the bright tank, so it's not complete yet. We will be packaging it in a couple weeks, but right before we package is when we add the blue spirulina, which is like a really fine powder. So what I did for us today is I took some of the beer from the bright tank, and I have some samples of that powder, and I'm trying to give a good approximation of what the beer will look like when it's done. So
Nice.
here's just a glass that I mixed up. As you can tell, it's very blue.
That's
This might
amazing.
be even a little overboard because I can only measure such small amounts of this powder with the scales that I have. But yeah, it's gonna look like that kind of crazy azure, like, see if I can get. It's kind of hard to tell.
It's
in
like
the
a
lighting.
fishbowl drink.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this is the This is the original fishbowl cocktail drink. So it's just got this crazy blue color, all natural, but you don't taste much of the spirulina because, like I said, you use really small amounts. I think, this is about 8 ounces of beer, and I put like 0.2 grams in, so it's a very small amount that just gives it this vibrant color. So you're really just getting the base beer. So yeah, that's kind of the story behind the Blue Hawaiian.
That's awesome. I love the color. That's amazing. That is so cool. I can't wait for this to be on tap for people to be able to actually have their minds blown. Because I think a lot of times, I guess with the Lee Hill series, most people are pouring that into a glass. But if you didn't, and you didn't really know what you were about to get, that's gonna be quite the surprise for people to take that straight from the can.
Definitely.
That's dope. So when it comes, like, is the powder actually blue, or does it look different? And then when it's mixed with the liquid, it turns blue. Like, what does it look like?
It's a very blue powder. So it just looks like the very fine powder. I guess I have kind of the container that I had like dumped it out of here. So it's like this extremely blue color.
Nice.
And yeah, it doesn't take much, but it just takes over the color of the beer. And that's something we were trying to develop for a while. Just do every once in a while, you got to do something ridiculous so you're not taking yourself too seriously. But this beer is really good too.
Is this the first beer that you've done that was blue, or have you done other colors?
No, this is the first one that I've done. I came across this phycocyanin powder when I was just experimenting with different coloring agents that are all natural. There's a ton of food coloring out there that's synthetic, but I've been messing around with different freeze-dried fruits and vegetables. But yeah, this came across just from experimentation, and then just kind of brainstorming, and why not? Let's try something crazy.
Well, didn't you do a beer with like something with the word butterfly in it? I don't remember what it was called, but it was like a color changing thing.
Yeah. It's called the butterfly pea, the flower of the butterfly pea, and that one you steep kind of like hibiscus or any other spice. Usually steep in like the whirlpool or somewhere where it's hot side, and you can extract all those pigments. So that was actually pretty cool, especially because it's sensitive to pH. So when you bring the pH of that down, it goes from being this blue or purple color to like a bright pink color. So you can, just depending on the acidity of the beer that it's in, you can have a different color. So those are pretty cool too. We experimented with those a couple years ago, but this is a new one for me, this powder, which is not, I believe, as sensitive to pH, because this beer is pretty sour and it's staying blue. So whereas with the other one, it would have started to turn kind of a pink purple color.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to trying this one. I just got brought a beer. I don't even know what it is, but I asked for a sour, and Chad just brought this up, and it's really delicious. So I'm trying to drink something similar to what you're drinking right now to get into the spirit. But I can't wait to actually try a blue beer. That's going to be a fun one.
Is that apricot sour? Does it taste like apricot?
I don't even know. It tastes delicious. That's what I do know.
Well, it's probably from the same foeder, so you're at least close.
Nice. Yeah, I said, give me something close, and they brought this up. So it's not blue, but, it's still delicious.
I got to say, this is my first time drinking a blue drink. This has been kind of an idea the whole time. And it feels a little weird at first, but it still tastes really good. Yeah.
So what's the ABV on this one?
I don't know that for sure yet because we haven't run it through our alkalizer. Let's see here. I think it's around 6%, though. A lot of the beers that come out of the foeder are around there just because our base stays about the same.
Right.
I don't think we picked up a ton from the fruit. So it's around 6% alcohol. It's pretty tart, hence sour ale. but it's got some kind of like you really do get that the base beer coming through. So like the beer you're drinking, we would probably be tasting some similar fermentation characteristics with like the Brett and kind of that sourness. But the pineapple in this really kind of melds as like this middle ground, because we let it re-ferment out. So a lot of that sugar that was in the pineapple got consumed by the yeast. It's definitely not a super sweet beer at all. It's actually pretty dry. And then you get a little of that coconut on the back end, and some of those other additions just sort of round out the back. So it's pretty cool.
Nice. We have a good question that I was going to ask myself. Is it going to turn your mouth blue? So drink some more and then stick out your tongue. What's that? Your video is kind of fuzzy for me, probably for everyone, but I can't really tell if your mouth's turning blue. I'm just curious.
I don't think so.
That's pretty cool. I would have assumed it would totally make your mouth blue.
I mean, if you did a lot, I guarantee it would. But like I said, this doesn't take much to turn the color blue of the beer. So I'm sure if you put twice as much in, it might be a different story. Looks like you chewed on a pen or something.
So how long? I know you brought up a whole story about the beer in the very beginning, but for anyone who's just joining the video, I'm just wanting you to kind of like reintroduce the beer a little bit. What's it called? And kind of like what was the process for it, and how long have you been working on this particular beer? Mm-hmm. And what volume are we in? I'm already forgetting. I should know that.
I believe this is volume 25.
That sounds right.
So yeah, I mean, this beer is kind of like we've started to settle into a bit of a rhythm as far as the Lee Hill series goes. So this being the third beer release of the year from the Lee Hill series, it's sort of cocktail inspired, so tiki drink inspired. And so you'll see next year a beer that will also be kind of inspired by a cocktail.
Yep.
And so, yeah, we were just kind of thinking like we wanted to use a sour beer this time, that we might not do that every time. We could actually, I'm fermenting a beer right now that will be a cocktail inspired beer, but won't be sour. And it'll be in whiskey barrels instead. So yeah, we were starting with this sour base, thinking about what kind of cocktails we want to do. I know I've been really into, tiki drinks and stuff for a few years now, so we thought like let's do something kind of fun and also a little ridiculous, So yeah, we just got a ton of pineapple and coconut, put that in there with beer. Let it re-ferment, a little orange zest and rum-soaked oak cubes in there as well. And then you finish it off with the blue spirulina to make it blue. So all in all, it's like, the foeder takes a while to get sour, but the way that we use it, I think the last time I topped it up was only like 6 months ago. So because we never empty it, right? It's almost like a Solera. And it kind of keeps that microbial momentum. So, I mean, overall, the beer probably takes like 9 months to make at this point. But if we had started from scratch, it would take, almost a year and a half probably.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So this particular beer that people are going to get to try in the next couple of weeks, you said was about like a 9-month process?
I mean, it's tough to say, though, because like I said, the foeder is now a blend of 6 different fills that we started 3 years ago. So it's like I top it up and I take some out when it's ready, but I don't take all of it out. And you leave some of that mature sour beer in there, top it back up, and then it's actually ready more quickly after that than it would be if you had just filled it up and inoculated it with yeast and bacteria. So
nice.
But then it does spend about 3 months on the fruit re-fermenting there. Yeah.
So what's the next quarter beer going to be all about? Since we are talking about special projects, I mean, this one obviously is the coolest, I think, of the year because of the blue color. I think people are going to get a kick out of it. And then I know the fourth quarter is always a wild Christmas, right? And I don't know how much we talked about that last time you visited this show that we run here. But I'm
Yeah.
curious if you want to talk a little bit about like what's up ahead or what other special
Sure.
projects you've been banging out.
Yeah, so Wild Christmas is always the last Lee Hill series of the year, the fourth
Highly
quarter.
weighted.
So we've been doing that for a while. I don't think last time we had figured out what we were going to do with it. We, first release we did, it was just a soured version of our Wild Christmas Ale. And then after that, we've been doing different fruit each year. So last year was Balaton cherries. And then this year we've decided to do something a little different. It's actually going to be probably lighter on the fruit than has been in the past. But it's going to be bergamot, which is a citrus. And then we're also going to have some more orange peel in there, and then a touch of Saigon cinnamon, which is a little different than, it's not quite like Mexican cinnamon or something that you might get, pre-ground in a shaker jar or something. It's more closely related to Ceylon cinnamon or cassia bark. It's a little sweeter. It has less of that kind of bitter edge to it. So we've used that actually in a number of beers just because it's a great way to impart cinnamonness to a beer without it getting too astringent. So it's going to be kind of, like a spiced beer, but with a citrus component to it. And that beer has just been continuously propagated through whiskey and wine barrels mainly. Like the one over that shoulder, that barrel right there, that's a Wild Christmas barrel.
Nice.
And that's how we've been propagating that through the years. And then we also blend with our foeder, Ernie, the other one right there. Ernie is actually a little less acid forward than the oak barrels are. So we get a lot of the tartness from the small oak barrels, and then the foeder has a similar base, but it's a little rounder and more like yeast forward. So it allows you to, instead of just putting all your eggs in one basket, you can blend from each side and get the product that you want. So when we're ready, which is in about a week, I'll rack those barrels out into a tank and put the bergamot and the orange peel and the Saigon cinnamon in there, and it'll undergo a similar process to what the Blue Hawaiian did, where it'll re-ferment. There's going to be, I am assuming, less sugar from the fruit because it's just the sheer amount is less, and orange peel is a big part of it, which doesn't have as much sugar as the flesh of the fruit. So it probably won't have to re-ferment as long, but it should be ready in time for the start of the holiday season. So that's kind of
delicious.
Yeah, it's cool. And we've been trying to do, our head brewer Sam has been pushing to do lingonberries for forever, but it's been really hard to find a good source for that. So if anyone knows, let us know where to get some lingonberries in quantities.
What's a lingonberry?
A lingonberry is a Nordic fruit that's similar to like a cranberry.
That'd be
I'm sure
good.
Sam could wax poetic about them, but they taste a lot like a cranberry to me. But finding 1,000 pounds of them hasn't been as easy as we would have thought. So we'll get there eventually. Even if it is a smaller batch, we'll make it happen.
Haven't we done a Wild Christmas Ale with cranberries, or am I making that up? Because that sounds like it would be a good idea.
Yeah, that was the first one we did with fruit. Yeah.
And have we done?
That was good.
What else have we done? So we've done regular Wild Christmas, cranberries, the Balaton cherries. What was in between those two?
We did a black raspberry as well, and that one was super fruit forward, and kind of turned it a different color too, because black raspberries just have so much deep red color to them. I still am a huge fan of the Balaton cherry. I think that's awesome, but sorry, Balaton was 2 years ago. Last year was the Colorado plums. Yeah, and that was one of the most laborious ones. Maybe that's why I'm trying to forget about it, but it turned out really good. It was just that, processing 1,000 pounds of plums by hand can take a long time. So,
Yeah.
but I did have the help of a lot of great people, so I really appreciated that. So yeah, that's kind of the Wild Christmas series. Uh, that'll be coming out hopefully at the beginning of November. Um, and then, I mean, as far as Lee Hill series goes, I'm already thinking ahead to literally Q3 of next year. So the the next cocktail beer is fermenting right now.
Do you want
That
to
will
give a
be
little sense about what that's going to involve? I know you mentioned it won't be a sour, but do you want to tell the
yeah.
lucky few who are tuning in what they might be in for?
Sure, yeah. I mean, it's a little up in the air still, but it all kind of started with the barrels that we got. For many years we've had a great relationship with Leopold Bros, and we still do, but they are holding on to their Maryland rye whiskey barrels this year, so we weren't able to get any. They're holding on to that stock to release like a 5-year version of it.
Nice.
So we weren't able to get any barrels from them, but we have some friends over at Law's Whiskey House in Denver, and we were able to get some barrels from them. We got some of their 4-grain bourbon barrels and their wheat whiskey barrels. So it kind of started with that. It was like, all right, we got these sweet barrels. What do you want to do with that? That's still up in the air a little bit as to what the finished product will be, but the base going into it is probably closest to like an English barley wine. So it's a sweeter, high gravity beer, but it's not roasty like a stout. So it'll have a lot of it'll let that barrel character come through really nicely, and then we can do things on the back end, kind of like what we're talking about here, where you take it out of the barrel and then you do another treatment to it to get to the final product. So I mean, that's a year away, so we still have some time to think about that. But
and it's obviously it's subject to change if the process needs it. But so what was the cocktail that inspired you for that one? That's for next year.
I mean, I've got a few in mind, but like I said, we still are at the point where it's like we might let the beer tell us when
Sure.
it's after it's matured in barrels for a little bit, like what we're getting from it. I've really wanted to do a beer inspired by the Boulevardier cocktail, which is a lot like a Negroni but with bourbon. So it's a pretty simple cocktail where it's bourbon, sweet vermouth, and some type of aperitivo like Campari, so like a bitter Amaro. So that could be pretty cool. We've already done some weird stuff like that with Leopold Bros and their absinthe barrels, so we'll figure something out there, but that will require some blending and some cellar work down the road if we want to go that route. But I think we'll let the beer kind of tell us a little bit. It's always good to think ahead while you're doing this, but we'll just see what happens.
Nice.
So yeah, that's like a year out. We still have some beers that are closer to being ready. We've got our last round of those Maryland style rye whiskey barrels from Leopold Bros. They are holding an imperial stout. So that is, again, that one could just be straight, or we could do some adjuncts like vanilla or some other crazier ideas that I've been experimenting with, but we'll see. I don't want to disclose anything until I'm more sure of it. I guess that batch had actually a small portion of it was aged in Utah bourbon barrels, so it's a non-disclosure agreement with the distillery that produced it. But we had a small amount of these bourbon barrels that I was tasting recently, and they tasted really good. They're quite different from the rye whiskey. They're a lot stickier, sweet, ton of that vanilla, creme brulee, brown sugar. It was just so good that I was like, well, this doesn't necessarily need to get blended into the whole picture. So I racked those out recently. I don't think we've tapped it yet, but mainly because I don't know how many people want a 15% Imperial Stout in July, but it'll age just fine in the kegs, and we'll have that as probably some kind of limited tapping or something. So
Nice.
yeah, that's kind of the barrel projects, the bigger barrel projects that are in the pipeline right now. Um,
Cool.
yeah.
Anything else that you've been playing around with that anyone who's watching might be interested to know about? I mean, I know last time you were on, which was a few weeks ago at this point, 5 episodes at least ago. So actually a while ago, we were talking about how you and your girlfriend went and picked some wildflowers and were playing with that in a beer, and that was really very unique. And whenever I saw you doing that up there, I think I actually have a picture of the day that I went up there, and you were.
Mhm.
This was not you messing with that, but this is you doing your. Oh, that's a background. Well, there you are in the background. That's you playing around, just
Measuring
doing your
pH.
on the lab side of stuff. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's like, is there anything weird or crazy? Because I thought that was bizarre when I saw you playing with that. And you spoke a little bit about it a few weeks ago. I don't know if you want to bring that back up or what's going on with that project, if that was just a test for yourself or, yeah,
Mhm.
I just feel like you do really neat stuff up there that people would be curious about. So, yeah,
Yeah, I
talk.
mean, I haven't been doing a ton of wild stuff recently, but that project is that's going to take a while to come to fruition, mainly because it's going to take multiple years to for the beer to be ready. I've done it for two, I call it seasons now, because I go out in the spring and gather flowers and pine boughs, any kind of you know flora that I can find, or I can get the help of someone to find up in the foothills, or in the Flatirons, and then inoculate a beer with the microbes that are on those flowers and pine needles and grasses. So I did that 2 years ago, and that one is about a year old now. And then most recently, I did another one. So they're all spontaneously inoculated for the most part. I guess they're inoculated from cultures from those grasses and stuff. There's no, bugs in the barrel. I steam the barrel, so it's all coming from the flora there, and I'm planning on trying to do at least 3 years of it so that I can start blending from there. I really only have one. It'll take about a year for each brew to start to come around, and so the first one's really interesting. It's got a lot of cool aroma and flavor. I'm curious to see what the second year comes out like, because then I get more than one data point and I can see, okay, like how's this coming together. But I think it'll probably be at least another year or two before any of that gets blended. So that's definitely a weird side project. It's not for any large release, but it's more out of my curiosity. That was that project that I've just been calling it the Terroir project, kind of inspired by a project that I believe Garage Project out of New Zealand and Firestone Walker and I think like Crooked Save, some other breweries participated in a thing where they used wine grapes from their region and then did their own blends. We don't grow wine really in Boulder. There's definitely good wine growing region out on the western slope near Grand Junction, and we've done some cool stuff with that. But I wanted to do my own really localized version of the Terroir project. So that's that. As far as like what I've been working on here, it's been mostly piloting for beers that we're going to do at Flatiron Park. I actually brewed an Oktoberfest lager that is lagering right now, so that it'll be nice and smooth in time for Oktoberfest in the fall. But that won't be out for quite a while. What else? I did another traditional lager series, so I don't know if you saw. I was drinking the Vienna lager, which is on tap right now. You should go try it out.
Nice, I will.
But I just brewed a real long brew day, doing a Helles lager, so like inspired by the Munich Helles style, which is just a really nice light, easy drinking lager. I've wanted to make a Helles for a while, so if you like Pilsner and stuff like that, you'll probably like this one. but again, that won't be ready for months. It's actually still going through primary fermentation right now. Let's see what else I could look here. I made a beer for GABF. We actually have GABF happening this year as a competition, but not as the spectacle that it normally is. So,
yeah, it's all virtual. By the way, Ryan Cobb said that Vienna is straight fire.
Oh, thanks, Ryan.
I'm sure you tend to agree.
Yeah, I like it.
Cheers to Ryan for watching. Thanks for tuning in.
So yeah,
I'm in the awkward conference room right now, so it's not that pretty looking. And then Meyer's going kind of pixelated. So thanks to everyone bearing with us. But this is some pretty cool topics that we're covering. So I appreciate you being here, Meyer. Yeah. I kind of want you to pick up the actual Blue Hawaiian again and show anyone who's tuning in who didn't see it, because it's super badass, even with the video being kind of wonky in our, A+ internet that we have here at Upslope Brewing Company. Either which way, if you want to put it up at the camera lens, I think it's pretty sick looking.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
I'm going to full screen you. See what happens. Yeah. You're more clear when you're bigger. That's awesome. It's kind of scary looking though at the same time. Like, is it trippy to drink that?
I mean, it is a little weird. It doesn't taste any different than the beer before the phycocyanin powder goes in, but it is a little weird. I've never really had a blue beer, so.
Yeah, so I think there's a couple of people joining us who weren't totally aware that like what's been talked about. And Gabe's hitting the nail on the head. Yes, that is exactly what's going on with this beer.
Yep.
Spirulina. And yeah, obviously Cobb really likes your shirt. We think it looks great with your outfit. I'm glad I put you in full screen mode because you look a lot prettier, not pixelated, and I'm not part of the I don't need to be on here physically. But yeah, people are stoked. It looks like James Kirby, thanks for tuning in. He said that's amazing. Can't wait to try it. It could be worth you going back over like some tasting notes that people can expect when they drink that beer. And again, I think this is going to be available in like 3 weeks, right?
Yeah, I mean, we're packaging it in about 2 weeks, so that sounds about right.
Nice.
Yeah, earplugs match too. So yeah, I mean, this beer is like, I think it really lets the foeder base come through still. Like, what I like about it is it isn't just, blown out with fruit, which we probably could have done. But you still get some of that Brett character. It's like I kind of get that funky pineapple thing going on. It's definitely tart. It's got that underlying coconut that kind of rounds things out.
It's so weird looking at that beer.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at it and then drink it, it's crazy. But I mean, blue sour ale, that's what this is. It's tart, it's juicy, it's tropical. The coconut is not super assertive, but it's there as kind of like a background. And yeah, this blue is just crazy. It is kind of hard to see on camera. Let's see if I can like shine.
That's awesome.
Maybe not. That's
no, but honestly, it shows up pretty nicely. Stick your tongue out again though, because for the record, you have been having nothing, not a trace. So there's no like blue jokes yet,
Yeah, I mean, I just don't think we're gonna use enough. Like when I was doing trials, I put way too much in before, and it'll do it, but not at this amount, surprisingly.
It's pretty dope.
So, yeah,
all right.
Kind of...
I should have done that all along. That might have fixed the pixely camera, but either which way, you've been crushing it no matter what. All right, I'm trying to think of anything else that we want to tell people about. I mean, there's a lot of cool hazy like pilots that if you come to the tap room, people are going to be able to check this out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I've been doing a lot of piloting for a hazy IPA that we're going to be releasing at the end of this year. So there's probably like the fourth pilot is on now. So we've been kind of tweaking that, refining it, getting it to where we want it. And then, before too long, we're going to, go to the big show and start brewing it at Flatiron Park. So, and so that's always a fun process, is just seeing how to, my job is trying to get it as close as I can to the process over there and making that transition easy. But, there's always going to be some bumps in the road, and I think that will turn out something really good, though. I'm pretty excited for it.
So how many more pilots do you think that we'll have for the hazy IPA? Like, can people expect, if they've tried the first 4 or whatever, like there will be 2 more? Or like, at what point are you going to be kind of done? Do you know? Or is you're just kind of, we're all going to do the research and development together and tasting it? Or what's your process like?
I think at this point we're pretty much honed in on where we want to be. So the one that's on tap right now in the tap room is going to be pretty close. But like I said, we have to adjust recipes always when we go to Flatiron Park, because it's a larger brew house. Whirlpool editions are different. Dry hopping is different. I don't have a torpedo. They have a torpedo. So it's like trying to figure out how we can get close. But like on my end, we're pretty much done. I don't think that we're going to do another one. I'll probably make another hazy IPA, but it won't be another pilot for this release. So like I said, we'll have to just commit and go to the big scale and make any tweaks that we need to, and then put it out there. So we're actually really close to being ready for it. We just had to sign a bunch of our hop contracts for it, so it's pretty real now.
Nice. Yeah, that's awesome. So we have a question. How hazy is it going to be?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. I would say that our target is for kind of a moderately hazy beer. It's kind of tough to say, because it's weird, as I haven't even been brewing that long, but when I started brewing, hazy meant a completely different thing than it does now. So I would say it's going to be hazy but not opaque. We've made some hazy beers that are great on tap here, and they're extremely hazy. They look like orange juice, but they don't have as good of shelf stability in that regard. And that's actually a big part of my job over here, is like I've been able to make a lot of nice hazy IPAs that are great to have on tap for 4 weeks or whatever, however long they normally last. But if we're going to put them in a can and put them out to market, you need to make something that's more shelf stable. So it'll still be hazy, but it's finding that balance, because after a while, haze will drop out. The colloidal stability is just not great on an extremely hazy beer. So it's kind of tough to say, because people have different perceptions of haze, but I would say that it's undoubtedly hazy, but not crazy hazy, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I had one yesterday, I think it was, when we were all trying to kind of talk about descriptor words for it and whatnot, since we are in the process of figuring out, canning something like that. So I enjoyed it. I think the haze level on it, like, I think it's middle of the road, right? Like it's not the lower end, and it's not that thing that when a waitress carries it out on a tray, you think that someone's ordering an orange juice. So it's pretty middle of the road.
Those are good too, but that was the challenge that I had to meet. It was like, okay, I can make something super hazy, but it's trying to find a way to make that haze stable, I guess, is a good way of putting it.
Trying to think, I guess you've been playing around with a lot of fruited beers too, and I know there's some really dank ones in the tap room. Muffin, our production manager, last night ordered I think it was the dragon fruit one, or passion fruit, or maybe it's both of those things in it. And that was, I had some of that too. He inspired me to order one, and I liked that a lot. So I don't know if you want to talk about any of the fruited projects you're working on.
For sure.
We're all working on fruited stuff.
Yeah, I've been piloting that. Done a number of those. A lot of them having tropical fruit. Um, so I would expect something coming out with tropical fruit in it. Like you said, there's been some with dragon fruit, some with passion fruit, some with pineapple, some with guava. I'm actually going to experiment with a little hibiscus. So it's kind of figuring out what we like, what we want the beer to be. But it is a base of, a really drinkable wheat beer where it's like very wheat heavy, but then it's got, a good dose of fruit in it. So, it's going to be kind of lightly fruity, it's not going to be a sour beer, but it might have a little bit of tartness to it. So just like a nice kind of a crusher beer, low ABV, real refreshing. We've been using kind of a new strain to us, a yeast strain to us, that is from Norway originally. Kveik is the Norwegian word for yeast. And so we've been using a specific strain of Kveik to make these fruit beers, which is really cool because it's almost like adding more fruit to it, but it's just from the yeast. So yeah, that's been kind of a few of the pilots that we've done on that front. Let's see, I've mentioned the hazy pilots, the fruit beer, did the Oktoberfest, and then we'll also be kind of dialing in our Mexican style dark lager, which we've done a few times around here. It's going to be similar to a Vienna lager, but we're going to use a little flaked maize in there or corn. So it's another great lager that's got kind of that, it's malty, but it's still really crisp and refreshing.
So what color is that going to look like? I know you're drinking, I think you said you have the Vienna lager next to you right now. Is it going to look kind of like that in color? Will it be much lighter? Like, what is that?
I mean, I would say it's going to be a amber color. So it'll look like kind of an amber lager. It's not too dark, but kind of orange highlights, amber, lighter amber.
Cool. Yeah, I think I owe you actually, if Molly's watching, her and I owe you the next kind of iteration of what that can rendering might look like for new product development. Cool. We kind of left it where we left it. It kind of had that terracotta style kind of colored can, and just wanted to make sure that that's going to kind of match what the drinker might see when they pour it into a glass. So I think we're pretty close to getting the colors for that can. I mean, we're going to put that out as a limited release. That's the hope, right? So probably owe you some homework before next new product development, or if you have time to wait in 2 weeks. But yeah, I'm happy to like see the Vienna on screen and in your glass, because like that's not one that I typically drink here at the brewery. So it's good to see that color, that we're not far off with the color we're kind of playing with.
Yeah, I mean, it's just an amber, like if you've ever had Dos Equis Sambar or Negro Modelo, like any of those Mexican dark lagers, that's what inspired this beer. So, nice. Really nice.
Then we're on the right track from the marketing department, at least.
Yep. Yeah, keep it up.
Hey, I'm getting paid to drink right now, so I'm keeping it up.
Sounds nice.
Well, you are.
I am too.
Yeah. Well, cool. I mean, that's honestly, I think you've run through the next, we just got into territory into 2021 in Q3. So I think you've run through a ton of the special projects that are on the horizon for you.
Yeah.
And unless you have anything else crazy to add, I think this might be a wrap. Unless you want to crush that Blue Hawaiian on camera and absolutely just chug it. Cause I know isn't this your Friday, Meyer? Aren't you out tomorrow?
Yep. Yeah, I'm heading out to the wilderness tomorrow, so this is my Friday.
Yeah, you might as well cheers the group and get started early.
Well, here you go. One last look at it. I don't think I'm going to crush it, but cheers.
Cheers, and thanks for joining us, you guys. Alex Meyer, again, I'll put your name up there because you are the man with the plan. How do I find your name? Hold on. Boom, boom, boom. Oh, I lost you. There you are. Alex Meyer, ladies and gentlemen, This is the guy who gets to have the most fun at our Lee Hill Brewers Playground, making all the coolest stuff for you to drink. And if you ever have a cool idea, wait, didn't you need something? Weren't you trying to crowdsource lingonberries? That's what it was.
Yeah,
So
lingonberries.
yeah, if you have a line on some cool fruits or cool ideas, Alex Meyer's the man with the plan. So you can always just say, like, on our social media, comment on something or comment on this video and just be like @Meyer, and then we'll tell him your ideas, because it's really fun for us to kind of hear what you guys want, and then Meyer be able to level up and make it what you want, and even then some. So thanks for being you, Meyer, and thanks for joining me. 5 episodes.
Certainly. Thanks for having me.
Cheers, you guys. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time. I think it's in 2 weeks, because we're doing every other Thursday. So holler at us in the comments if you have a cool idea of what you want to know about. And Meyer, we appreciate you. And we certainly appreciate the beer that you make for us. So thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, y'all.